Hey there, I'm Ivana and you're listening to Mind Matters. Welcome to Season 4, The Brain on Desire. This season, I am digging into the cognitive forces fueling our cravings, from the way we love to the luxuries we chase. In each episode, I'll share science-backed insights and real-life stories to help you understand your deepest drives. Ready to find out why we want what we want? Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 4 of Mind Matters, in which I explore desire. I'm Ivana, your host. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of why we humans want what we want and how these cravings can shape our lives. Let's start with a quick story. Picture this. It's 2007 and a massive crowd lines up around the block for a product they've never touched, let alone tested, but they're convinced they need it. That product? The first iPhone. People slept on sidewalks and rearranged their lives for something they'd never actually used. Now, think about the power of that desire. It fueled Apple's rise to becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world. But that same intensity, if misdirected, can also lead to burnout, or even addiction, as we'll see later in the show. Desire, in other words, is a double-edged sword. In today's episode, I will look at what desire is from a neuroscientific and psychological standpoint, why our brains are wired to want things, and how understanding the mechanics of desire can help us harness it for personal growth instead of letting it sabotage us. So, whether you're a teen or an adult, living in Luxembourg or anywhere else on the globe, this conversation is for you. What is desire? Desire is that internal push, that appetite for something, be it a new phone, a sweet dessert, or a life-changing career move. According to Berridge, desire can be broken into two key components, wanting and liking. Wanting is that pursuit, the craving, the chasing of the thing. Liking is the actual enjoyment you get once you have it. You can want something without genuinely liking it, or sometimes you end up liking it less than you imagined once you finally get it. Be patient with me for a little neuroscience 101 on the dopamine connection. When we talk about desire, the term dopamine often comes up. In the simplest terms, a dopamine is one of the brain's main reward chemicals. It gets released when you anticipate a reward, like smelling fresh pizza and knowing you're about to bite into that cheesy goodness. However, it's important to note that dopamine is more about the anticipation than the consumption. This is where wanting can surpass liking. Our brain's reward circuit can drive us to keep seeking, to keep chasing that next high, even if the thing itself stops bringing us much satisfaction. From an evolutionary standpoint, desire is vital. Our ancestors needed to crave high-calorie foods to survive famine periods. They needed to want to find shelter, to bond with others, and to reproduce. Desire ensured survival. In modern times, though, many of our basic needs are met: food, safety, shelter, at least for a portion of the global population. So that ancient drive to want more can manifest in other forms, such as chasing social status, wealth, or online popularity. But it's not just biology. Culture and society heavily influence what we crave. Marketing campaigns tap into our primal desire to be liked, to feel important, or to stand out. Think about the luxury industry. Entire brands have emerged and thrived by associating their products with status, exclusivity, or belonging. According to Knobloch Westerwick, social cues and media strongly impact our desires, driving us to compete for what we believe represents success, be it followers, fancy gadgets, or high-end fashion items. Here's a small anecdote. A friend once confided that she had to get the latest phone because her coworkers all had it. She didn't necessarily like the new features. She just wanted the social approval that came with it. That's the subtle interplay of cultural norms and personal motivation in fueling desire. Now, I want to mention a few cases that illustrate this better. Case 1. Remember that line around the block for the first iPhone? That was a perfect storm of marketing, social proof, and the tech community's desire for innovation. That collective craving propelled Apple's growth, and for many people, the iPhone did genuinely improve their daily lives. In this sense, desire became a force for innovation, pushing technology forward, creating new jobs, and reshaping industries. But then there's the flip side. Consider a case of individual I'll call Alex. Alex was trapped in a cycle of online shopping addiction. Each notification about a sale triggered dopamine. He would want more, adding item after item to his cart, even though he couldn't afford them. Once the packages arrived, he barely enjoyed the unboxing because another sale or a new trend had already caught his eye. His desire had become a destructive cycle, leading to debt and anxiety. These two stories showcase how desire itself is neutral. It's the context, direction, and intensity that determine whether it becomes a driving force for positive change or a source of self-sabotage. Desire, when it comes to romantic relationships, plays a central role in what drives people to pursue, maintain, or even end partnerships. Psychologically speaking, it is a powerful mix of emotional, cognitive, and biological factors that can shape everything from first impressions to long-term attachment. While every relationship has its unique dynamics, a body of research in social and clinical psychology offers key insights into how desire functions and why it is so pivotal in romantic bonds. The neuroscience of desire. From a biological perspective, romantic desire is linked to the brain's reward system, particularly the dopaminergic pathways. Fisher famously used fMRI and scans to demonstrate that people intensely in love show heightened activation in the ventral tegmental area, which is a dopamine-rich region associated with reward, motivation, and goal-directed behaviors. This spike in dopamine release makes us focus intently on the object of our affection, sometimes to the point of ignoring other aspects of life. This neural mechanism is similar to what happens when we crave substances like chocolate or even certain addictive drugs. Our brains effectively tag the desired person as a highly rewarding stimulus. As a result, we become motivated to pursue proximity, attention, and emotional connection. The difference in romantic contexts is that the reward is not purely tangible. It also involves emotional security, intimacy, and a sense of belonging. The road from attachment to passion was examined by Hazan and Shaver in 1987. They showed that desire in romantic relationships does not emerge in a vacuum. Their attachment theory research illustrates how early caregiver bonds can shape adult romantic behaviors. Someone with a secure attachment style tends to experience desire as a healthy blend of wanting closeness while feeling safe and autonomous. Conversely, an anxiously attached person may display heightened pursuit of affection, fearing rejection or abandonment. In neuroscience terms, the reward signals of closeness are intensified, and the perceived threat of losing that connection can trigger stress pathways like the amygdala's fight or flight responses. On the other hand, an avoidantly attached individual often displays a conflict between biological craving for closeness and an ingrained fear of dependence. This can manifest in dampened behavioral expression of desire. The reward circuits still respond to intimacy cues, but learned defensive strategies may suppress overt chasing behaviors. And what about the variations in desire in men versus women? Research has also looked into the potential differences in how men and women experience romantic or sexual desire. Meston and Buss explored the reasons people initiate sexual activity and found that while both sexes reported a broad range of motivations, men were somewhat more likely to identify a spontaneous desire triggered by visual or physical cues. Women, in contrast, often described a more context-dependent or responsive desire, shaped by emotional intimacy, relational cues, and personal comfort. Neuroscientifically, some studies suggest that men's dopaminergic response can be more immediately triggered by visual stimuli, whereas women's neural activation might require a stronger emotional component, or a contextual buildup to reach the same level of intensity. Of course, these findings are averages and individual differences are everywhere. Cultural factors, personal history, hormonal fluctuations also contribute to how each person, regardless of gender, experiences and expresses desire. Desire rarely remains static over time. Sternberg's triangular theory of love underscores the importance of passion, intimacy, and commitment in sustaining a healthy relationship. Passion, often synonymous with desire, may be the easiest to ignite at the beginning of a relationship, fueled by novelty and the dopamine rush of new love. Yet, as partners become more familiar with one another, novelty naturally decreases. That shift can lead to a dip in dopaminergic highs if the couple does not actively nurture surprise, excitement, and ongoing emotional connection. Baumeister and Wrocławski add that passion often spikes at moments of rapid intimacy growth, like moving in together or traveling for the first time. But it can also slow down during periods of stagnation. The implication here is that couples benefit from pursuing shared experiences or learning new skills together, effectively resetting the brain's reward mechanism with fresh stimuli and challenges, and most importantly, resetting these pathways together. So, why do these findings matter? Understanding the neuroscience and psychology behind desire allows couples and individuals to be more intentional about how they navigate their relationships. Recognizing that the rush of early-stage infatuation is partly a dopamine-driven phenomenon can help partners avoid feeling disillusioned when that initial spark naturally changes. Being aware of potential differences in how men and women on average experience desire can promote empathy. Instead of labeling a partner as too needy or too distant, individuals can explore what underlying emotional or biological factors might be influencing them. Desire, in short, is a dynamic interplay between our neural wiring, our early attachment histories, and the environments in which we find ourselves. By staying curious about how these forces operate, we gain a better chance of channeling them into sustainable, fulfilling, and mutually supportive romantic connections. Let's switch gears now and talk about how to work with our desires in a healthy way. 1. Self-awareness technique with trigger journaling. Try keeping a desire journal for 1 week. Write down situations, ads, or feelings that trigger your cravings. Whether it's an urge to buy something, eat something, or scroll social media for validation. Note how intense the craving feels on a scale of 1 to 10 and what thoughts accompany it. According to Smith, journaling helps us identify patterns and become more mindful of what sparks our desires. 2. Mindful breathing exercise. The next time you catch yourself in a moment of intense craving, pause. Take a slow, deep breath in for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts. Repeat this cycle a couple of times. As you breathe, notice the sensation of wanting. Don't judge it, just observe it. Kabat-Zinn found that mindfulness techniques can help us create a space between impulse and action, giving us the chance to decide whether to pursue the desire or let it pass. These 2 simple tools, journaling and mindful breathing, can be a powerful first step in reclaiming agency over our desires. By observing ourselves in the moment, we become less reactive and more intentional. Before I wrap up, remember this key point. Desire isn't good or bad on its own. It's how we manage it that counts. Self-awareness and simple mindfulness practices can help you stay in the driver's seat, so your cravings don't end up driving you. In my next episode, I will go deeper into how these drives for connection and validation manifest in romantic relationships and attachment styles. I will explain the psychological keystones of craving closeness and how it shapes our relationship patterns. Until next time, be curious about your desires and see if you can observe them with a little more perspective and compassion. Cravings. Are they fueling your success or sabotaging you? Episode 2 of The Brain on Desire unpacks our hidden drive to want everything, from status to sweets. Ready to harness your cravings instead of letting them control you? Tune in to Mind Matters. I will link all the studies and references in the show's description. If you found this discussion insightful, please consider sharing it with friends, family, or colleagues. Let's keep the conversation going about how we can make this affluent corner of Europe a healthier, more equitable place for everyone. Until next time, remember, your mind matters, and taking care of it is the best investment you'll ever make.